Hello everybody and welcome back to another Memes Not Meta deck profile. As usual, helping you take down the meta with the best memes possible. Today we have a fan favorite deck that has been redone here by Aidan. Aidan, what are we profiling today?
We're profiling Dark Magicians today.
Dark Magicians, a legacy deck indeed. One of the best decks of all time, am I right, Aidan?
Oh, absolutely.
Really just astounding what this deck can do.
Very true, very true.
But jokes aside, I feel like there is a lot of cards in this deck, and particularly in your version, that make it, pretty viable in the current meta, would you say?
Yeah, there's some... This is more of a control style Dark Magician. So it'll be a little more slower paced, but I think it can kind of keep up fairly well. You'll be able to look at the profile and you can leave comments down below and let me know what you think.
Yes, absolutely. So
also, this is more of a budget version.
Oh.
So, spoiler alert, we're not including 3 Magician Souls.
Why not? They're so affordable.
They're $130 a piece at time of recording. So, not in my budget to own 3 of them. So we're going to do with what we have, and let's get right into it.
Absolutely, let's get into it.
So first, of course, we have 3 Dark Magician.
Oh,
makes sense.
And that is, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 different secret rare versions.
Oh yeah, I'm flexing the 30-cent cards.
Oh, that's beautiful though.
Crazy. You kind of need a Dark Magician in your Dark Magician deck. Wild. Next, we have 3 copies of Magician's Rod. This is definitely your best normal summon in the deck. It lets you search for any Dark Magician card, add it from your deck to your hand. Very important you play 3 of. Also has a good graveyard effect where it can send a Dark Magician from your field to the graveyard to special it back, or add it back to your hand. So, overall, very good card. Next, we play Triple Apprentice Illusion Magician. Now, this card it's good because you can discard 1 card and add a Dark Magician from your deck to your hand, especially useful for when you have your traps set out and you need a special summon based off of them. Also, it has an Honest-like effect where you can boost a Dark Magician's attack by 2,000. It comes up a lot, so that's why I think you need to run 3, but I would say you could also run 2 pretty well, but I personally run 3 because I have 3. Next, we run 1 Magician of Dark Illusion. This is not that great of a card. If anything, play it as a 1 of at max, but honestly, you could probably cut it. The effect isn't that great, but sometimes it can come up where you can special summon it from your hand if you don't have a Dark Magician readily available. And then we also play 1 Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. If anything, I would say if you were going to cut this card, I would say add a second Spellbook Prophecy. I would say that's because we're running the Spellbook engine, the whole deck is spellcasters, so it makes sense. It's great draw support. And then lastly, for our last set of monsters, we have 3 Ash, because Ash is a very good card.
Indeed.
Helps you stall, helps you. It can kind of win you games. Overall, pretty basic monster lineup, nothing too crazy. So now we're going to get into the spells. So we'll have 3 Dark Magic Circle. This is definitely your best spell in the deck. This is what gives the Dark Magician deck synergy. When you play from your hand, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and if there's a Dark Magician card on the top, you can add it to your hand, and then you get to rearrange the rest of your cards and lay it specifically on the top of your deck. Additionally, anytime a Dark Magician special summon to the field, you can banish 1 card on the field from this spell card's effect. Very good card. This is kind of like the win condition, in quotations, that you kind of always want to see this in as many cases as you want, because this is kind of how you win. Going off of what we have for the rest of the Spellbook engine, so we have 2 Spellbook of Secrets, and we have 3 Spellbook of Knowledge. So for those that don't quite know what this Spellbook engine is these are all searchable for each other. So for example, you can activate a Spellbook of Secrets, search for a Magician of Prophecy that we went over earlier. You can normal summon your Magician of Prophecy, search for a Spellbook of Knowledge, and activate Spellbook of Knowledge tribute your Magician of Prophecy, and you just draw 2 cards.
And that can be done also in the reverse order as well.
Yes,
right?
that's correct. So you can first start by summoning your Magician of Prophecy, then searching for your secrets, activate secrets, search for knowledge, and then activate knowledge to draw 2.
So just a great way to just thin through the deck. Really.
Exactly. And again, since the entire deck is spellcasters, it works phenomenally.
Oh,
with
that's a
this
good
deck.
point. So you could just spellbook a knowledge like a Dark Magician if you need to.
Yeah, exactly. And then that sets you up by having a Dark Magician in the grave for when you need to, reuse your trap effects later.
Absolutely.
Next, we got some one-of spells. We got 1 Illusion Magic. You contribute a card, search for Dark Magicians from your deck. Comes up niche. 1 Dark Magic attack. This is basically a Harpy's Feather Duster, a searchable Harpy's Feather Duster.
Dang.
So it's a pretty fun card. It's pretty spicy. And then 1 Dark Magical Inheritance. This is probably the one-of that comes up most, in that you banish 2 spells from your graveyard, and you can search for a Dark Magician spell or trap added from your deck to your hand. But you thin through spells like crazy with the spellbook engine.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just banish 2 of your spellbook cards. So some nice little 3 one-ofs. Now, in this version of Dark Magician, we do run Eye of Timaeus.
Ooh.
So this is a fusion spell and lets us summon Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, which I'll go over slightly later. It's a very good fusion monster and it helps you protect your spells and traps. So you kind of need to run, I'd say, at least 2 of the fusion cards. This is definitely, I guess this is, in my opinion, the better budget option compared to some of the other variants out there. But unfortunately, this isn't searchable like your rest of your Dark Magician spell or traps. But with the spellbook engine, I think it gives a little more synergy, and you definitely see it a little bit more often.
So say it wasn't a budget build, is that where you would put in the Magician's Souls or something else?
Yeah, I would probably take out the Eye of Timaeus for something like Magician's Souls, because with Magician's Souls you can have a lot more access to different extra deck monsters that I think make more sense.
Gotcha.
Lastly, last spell, One Called by the Grave. It works. It also works because you can set it and then, bait spell trap disruption. I think it's just not bad to run as a one-of. So we'll move on to the traps now. Triple Eternal Soul. This is your best trap card in the deck, at least specifically for the Dark Magician engine. Allows you to special summon Dark Magicians from your hand or graveyard, and then a second effect is you can add the Dark Magic attack from your deck to your hand. So, great way to search for Harpy's Feather Duster, and a great way to recycle your Dark Magicians. The one caveat is that if this card is destroyed while it's face up on the field, you have to destroy all monsters you control. So I'll get into a little bit of ways we can try to do our best to save these. We run double Magician Navigation. This is another way to special summon Dark Magician. So if you have a Dark Magician in your hand, you can activate this, and you can special summon that Dark Magician from your hand and 1 from your deck. Also, it has a graveyard effect where if you control a Dark Magician, you can banish it, and then you can negate the effects of a card on the field. The negation effect comes up fairly often, in my opinion, but it's not really worth it to run 3 of. 3 cards you really must have in the deck are Solemn Judgment, because this is what protects you against your spell trap removal. If someone whips out a Harpies, you can at least negate it. You need to keep Eternal Soul up at all costs, as well as Dark Magical Circle.
I'm sure you're very glad to see that come back to 3.
Absolutely. Definitely helps out a lot. Then we also run some Floodgates. We run double Goes in Match, because everything in this deck is the same attribute Dark. Alternatively, you can run Rivalry of the Warlords, that because the deck is all spellcasters. I keep both of them, so Goes in Match is in the main deck right now. I do have Rivalry in the side deck. Depends on the matchup, I can switch them out pretty easily. And then lastly, I have 2 Summon Limit. Also another great Floodgate. You don't special summon that much in this deck, especially because this is more of a control variant. So most of the time you're just special summoning out a Dark Magician and then recycling that one or 2 special summons. But other than that, fairly straightforward deck. Not really many combos. So it's a pretty fun deck, and that is the main deck. So we'll get on to the extra deck.
All right.
So we have double Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. This card is great because it is treated as a Dark Magician on field, and then it protects all face-up. Let me get the correct wording for this. Your opponent cannot target spell or traps you control with card effects. They also cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So this is why I think Eye of Timaeus is really necessary in more of a budget version, because you can at least sit on this card and have a stronger negate to your spell traps. Because if you have this, a set of Solemn Judgment, and then you have the Dark Magician engraved with Dark Magic Circle up, you're in a pretty locked up position. Next we run. This is not a great card, but it's an option. 1 Amulet Dragon. It's an alternative target that you can use for Eye of Timaeus. Banishes spells from either player's graveyard, but you have to use a dragon monster to special summon it. So you'd already have to go through 1 Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. Comes up extremely niche, but I could see a use for it. So, and it's a common, so why not? 1 Ebon Illusion Magician. This is a very good Xyz monster, and this is probably the one you see the most, in my opinion. Because if you get 2 Dark Magicians out, especially off of Magician Navigation, you can Xyz summon into these 2. You get an additional banish, and you get to special summon a Dark Magician from your deck. Overall, very good card, and I think it's definitely worth running. I think the price is a little bit higher on this than I like, but if you can get this, I think it's a good card.
Was that only printed like once or something?
It was only printed once or twice, so it's a little harder to find.
Due for a reprint.
Yeah, for sure. 1 Ebon High Magician. I really don't go into this that often, but it's an option. This is for more spell trap removal, for more spell trap negation. But overall, you can run it if you have it. Nothing too crazy. 1 number 11 Big Eye. Great way of controlling an opponent's monster. Again, it's a good stall. It's not bad.
2 level 7s, yeah.
2 level 7s. Last Xyz monster we run is 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. This card is actually really cool, especially because when you start whittling down your opponent's life points, if you have 2 Dark Magicians, you can just Xyz on top of this and then just sit. Because what this does is it does burn damage for every time your opponent activates a card effect.
Yo, how much?
I think it's 500 or 300, 500. 500.
That's very good.
So, at any time your opponent activates a card or effect, you just deal 500 burn damage.
Nice.
So if you have like an odd number where they only have like 1,000 life points, sometimes they'll just sit on this and they really can't do anything. So we'll get into the Link monsters. We have 2 Link Spider. This is really good when you don't have something like Gozen matchup. You can just link off your Dark Magician and then just sit on it so that you can keep recycling it from the graveyard. Definitely worth running at 2. We run 2 Wee Witch Magician. Boost your Dark Monster's attacks. It's also a generic, so you can just link off your Dark Magicians that way. Get some in the graveyard for recycling. Very good. And then lastly, we're playing a Nightmare package in the extra deck. So we're playing 1 Nightmare Cerberus to target your special summon monsters or your opponents. 1 Nightmare Phoenix for targeting spells or traps. 1 Nightmare Unicorn for targeting monsters or targeting cards, sending them back to the deck. And then lastly, 1 Nightmare Griffin, which has 2 good effects. One is you can target a spell or trap in your graveyard, set it directly to your field. And then another one is special summon monsters cannot activate their effects unless it was linked summoned. Now
co-linked, I believe.
It was co-linked. Okay,
yeah.
Correction, yes. Doesn't really come up a whole lot because you usually don't have that many monsters to make a link for, or you don't want to really sacrifice a lot of your resources. But I have used it on some rare occasion, and I think it's come out fairly well. So with that is the deck, the main and extra deck. Side deck suggestions that I have: Rivalry of the Warlords, other spell or other trap, Floodgates, Anti-Spell Fragrance is another solid choice. Other Solemns could be like Solemn Strike, Solemn Warning. Other generic hand traps: Draw and Lockbird, Effect Veiler, Ash. Different types of spell and trap removal: Twin Twisters, Harpy's Feather Duster, Cosmic Cyclone. More generic things, but I think they definitely have synergy. They kind of help you side out for whatever you need to be.
So just more generally cards that help you play the control game.
That's in my opinion. I think that's more effective for this specific build.
Very nice. All right, final thoughts on Dark Magician.
Final thoughts.
Current meta, yeah.
It's all right. Again, especially with things like Harpies out and a lot of spell trap removal.
Yeah.
It's harder to run nowadays than it was, say, 2 or 3 years ago. But I still think it's a fun deck. Has some great nostalgia factor, if anything, and definitely one of my personal favorites. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. I hope you leave a like, comment, and I hope you subscribe. And do you have any other further comments to add?
Yeah, no, just always fun to play a legacy deck when you can.
Sure.
They're going to be as good as they can be when it comes to, the support being short printed in Legendary Duelist sets and super expensive. So we got to make do with what we can do, and I think you did a great job going ahead and showing a way to play this that doesn't break the bank.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Absolutely. Like you said, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. This has been Team Memes Not Meta.